Welcome to my channel Nursing Now Easy. Hello, hi friends. Today I am discussing about the cell, the basic unit of life. In universe, we see the two types of things. Those are the living things and non-living things. How can we differentiate living things and non-living things? The living things, the living nature of the things are produced or exhibited by the living cell. The living things are exhibited by the living cell. The cell is responsible for the livingness of the substances. That's why in the universe, living things and non-living things of two types of things are we seen. The cell, basic unit of life. In the heading also you show that the basic unit of life. Why we call cell as a basic unit of life? This must be studied in this chapter. What is a cell and the general characteristics of cell? The cell is studied in different headings. Under the first one is the what is cell? What is cell and general characteristics? General characteristics. Second one is difference between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Third one, cell structure. We follow the main heading of the cell study is the cell structure. The cell structure consists the study of cell structure in three headings. Because of the easy understanding of the cell, we studied in three headings: cell membrane. Second one is cell body or cytoplasm. Third one is nucleus. The study of cell in different headings means what is the cell and general characteristics of cell, and the difference between prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Cell structure it shows in it especially studied in three headings because of the easy understanding of the cell. Cell membrane, cell body or cytoplasm, and nucleus. Pause. What is cell and general characteristics of cell? First we go to the what is cell and general characteristics of cell. First the concept of cell. First we introduce the cell or shows the cell is structures and some functions are by the use of microscope. The concept of cell is originated from the contribution of Shivon and Sheldon in 1838. The concept of cell is originated by the Shivon and Sheldon in 1838. Go to the what is cell. What is cell? Cell is the structure, is a basic structural and functional unit of all living organisms. The cell is the basic structural and functional unit of all living organisms. Why should we call as a cell as a basic structure? Cell having some structure. In further studies, you show that the structure of the cell, and the cell performs some functions also. The nucleus and some organelles is there. Some structure is there, cells, and also the cell performs some functions. That's why the cell is a structural and a functional unit of all the living organisms. Cell is the basic structural and functional unit of all the living organisms. We move to the next, general characteristics of cell. General characteristics, the cell needs nutrition and oxygen. Nutrition and oxygen. Cell needs nutrition and oxygen for their survival and produces its own energy. Cell produces its own energy by utilization of nutrition and oxygen. By utilization of nutrition and oxygen, metabolism occurs in the cells in the mitochondria and in cytoplasm also, and produces its own energy by the form of ATP. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. And next, cell eliminates its carbon dioxide and metabolic waste products. Eliminates carbon dioxide and metabolic waste products. Cell eliminates carbon dioxide and metabolic waste. Upon metabolization of by the use of nutrition and oxygen, the cell produces energy by the means of ATP. The waste products, carbon dioxide, metabolic waste products, and urea, anything are produced in the cell are eliminated or exited out from the cell to the external of the body. And next, the cell divides. Cell multiplies by division. Cell multiplication. Cell multiply occurs by its division. Division. And shows immediate response to the invaders. Shows immediate response to invaders. Cell shows immediate response or any response to the foreign bodies. And also, cell maintains homeostasis or internal environment. Maintains homeostasis. Cell maintains homeostasis for their survival with the neighboring cells also. Next, move to these are the general characteristics. Nutrition and oxygen. The cell needs nutrition and oxygen and produces its own energy by the form of ATP and eliminates carbon dioxide and metabolic waste products. And division, the cell replication occurs by division and shows immediate response to the invaders, and the homeostasis, maintenance of homeostasis. Next, move to the general structures of the cell. Okay, we move to the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. What is meant by prokaryotic? Prokaryotic. The name shows that pro and carry-on. The name is divided into two parts. Pro means false, and carry-on means nucleus. Pro means false and carry-on means nucleus. In prokaryotic cell, general some bacteria. Bacteria having some genetic material and extra genetic material also is there in some bacteria, and the ribosomes and remaining cytoplasm. Some simpler organisms is there. It is the prokaryotic structure of, especially in bacteria. Many things. Simple bacteria. We take example. Prokaryote means pro means false and karyon means nucleus. Name also shows that the false nucleus. False nucleus means the prokaryotic genetic material, it is a genetic material, does not have a particular nuclear membrane. Does not have a nuclear membrane. It's freely in the cytoplasm. That's why we call it as a false nucleus, false nuclear membrane. The cell does not possess a nuclear membrane. That cell does not possess a particular nucleus or nuclear membrane, and also possesses simpler structures. Is called prokaryotic cell. And next move to the eukaryotic cell. Eukaryotic cell. In eukaryotic cell, what is the eukaryotic? It is also U means and karyon means. U means true and karyon means nucleus. Structure in a eukaryotic cell, generally we study the structure of the eukaryotic cell, and it is a nucleus and some cellular organelles and some many organelles is there, and the anything ribosomes and the vacuoles, lysosomes, peroxisomes, many structures is there. It is the nucleus, into that nucleolus. In eukaryotic cell, U means true. It is a nuclear membrane. The cell having a particular nuclear membrane or a true nuclear membrane. Within that, the genetic material is there, or the DNA. In eukaryotic cell, most probably DNA is there, and prokaryotic RNA or DNA, anything. DNA means deoxyribonucleic acid. True nucleus, the cell having the true nuclear membrane is called eukaryotic cell. The higher organisms, including human beings, are eukaryotic cells. Next, we go to the structure of the cell. We move to the cell structure. We study the cell structure in mainly three headings because of the easy understanding. First one, cell membrane. Cell membrane. The second one is the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm and their organelles. Next, nucleus. The study of cell is a cell structure. In this cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus. Because of the easy understanding, we divide the cell. We divide to study the cell membrane, cytoplasm and nucleus. First, we go to the cell membrane. What is meant by cell membrane? And what are all the functions of a cell membrane? The cell membrane, or structure of cell membrane and functions of cell membrane. Cell membrane, in the figure you know that the outermost layer, black layer is seen that it is the outermost layer of the cell. Cell membrane is the outermost layer of the cell, and it protects the ICF, or it separates the ICF from ECF. ICF means intracellular fluid and ECF means extracellular fluid. The fluid present outside the cell or cell membrane is called extracellular fluid, and the fluid present inside the cell membrane is called intracellular fluid. It separates the ICF and ECF. The cell membrane is also called as a plasma membrane. Plasma membrane. The cell membrane is also called as a plasma membrane. The cell structure, the cell membrane structure as a cell membrane components of three types of components, mainly protein. Protein composes of 55%, and the lipid composes of 45%, and the next carbohydrate comprises only 5% of the cell membrane. The component of the cell membrane is the plasma membrane is the protein 55%, lipid 40%, and the carbohydrate 5%. And this the cell membrane is best known explained by the model. It's called plasma mosaic model. Plasma mosaic model. It is proposed by the S.J. Singer and G.L. Nicholson in 1972. These two scientists proposed a model of the cell membrane structure called plasma mosaic model. Plasma mosaic model. The structure of the cell membrane is right in this structure. Cell membrane composed of three compositions: proteins, lipids, and carbohydrates. We studied. First, we study about the lipid structure of the lipid composition of the cell membrane. The lipid composition of the cell membrane, it comprises two types of lipids. First one is a phospholipids, and then cholesterol. The lipid composes phospholipids and cholesterol lipid layer. The phospholipids are the major components in the cell membrane. The phospholipids are in headed pin-like structures. These phospholipids are arranged in two layers. Like this. The head portion of the phospholipids are arranged in outer and inner surface of the both outer and inner surface of the cell membrane. Means the head portion of the phospholipids are present to the extracellular fluid in outside and the intracellular fluid in inside. The tail portion of the phospholipids are embedded within the two head portional layers. The head portion of the phospholipids is a polar end. It is a polar end, and also it is a hydrophilic in nature. Hydrophilic means it is a more affinity to the water. Means it is a water attractive. It is a more affinity to the water. And the tail portion is a non-polar end. And it is hydrophobic in nature. Hydrophobic means it is not affinity to the water, or it is a water repellent in nature. Tail portion of the phospholipids are hydrophobic in nature, and the head portion of the phospholipids are hydrophilic in nature. Because of this character, because of the hydrophobic and hydrophilic nature of the lipid layer, the plasma membrane is a semi-permeable membrane. These allows that some particles passes easily and some do not. Semi-permeable membrane. And the cholesterol, the second phospholipids, and next cholesterol. Cholesterol forms a layer between the phospholipids in the outer and inner layers. It gives the structural integrity to the phospholipid layer. The cholesterol gives the structural integrity or structural stability to the phospholipid layer. Because of phospholipids are smooth layer, and the cholesterol provides some structural integrity or strengthening to the phospholipid layer. Next we do the because of this character, means semi-permeable nature, the water soluble substances like glucose and electrolytes are not easily passes in between the ICF and ECF. Because of the hydrophobic nature of the tail end of the phospholipids, the glucose and electrolytes are not passes in between the lipid layer. And the alcohol, oxygen and carbon dioxide, these are all the fat soluble substances. Passes easily in between the ICF and ECF. The fat soluble substances are passes easily, and the glucose and electrolyte or water soluble substances are not passes easily in the lipid layer. That's why it's called semi-permeable membrane. Next, move to the protein structure of the cell membrane. Next, protein layer of the protein structure of the cell membrane. The protein comprises 55% of the cell membrane. In the phospholipid layer, the protein forms the two types of proteins in the phospholipid or cell membrane layer. First one is the integral proteins. Two types of proteins are integral proteins and the peripheral proteins. Two types of proteins are integral proteins and peripheral proteins. This is the integral protein, integral or transmembrane protein. This is the peripheral protein. Integral protein means what? What is the integral protein or transmembrane? This is the protein passes throughout the both layer of the phospholipids. Passes throughout the both layer of the phospholipids. It is called integral protein or transmembrane protein. Examples of integral proteins are channel proteins, and some hormonal proteins, and some receptors and antigen proteins, and the cell junction proteins, cell adhesion proteins. Adhesion means the joining of two cells, neighboring cells. This is the cell adhesion proteins. Next, peripheral proteins. What is a peripheral protein? The peripheral protein is the protein. It is present outside of the cell membrane or inside of the phospholipid layer. It is embedded in outside or inside of the phospholipid layer. It's called peripheral membrane. It does not passes the both layer. And the examples of peripheral proteins are some receptor proteins, and cells cytoskeleton proteins, are peripheral proteins. Next, move to the carbohydrate layer of the cell membrane. Next, move to the carbohydrate layer of the cell membrane. The carbohydrate layer comprises only 5%. The carbohydrate comprises 5% in the cell membrane. In this, the two carbohydrates are attached to the phospholipids. Are called glycolipids. The carbohydrates are attached to the lipid molecules of the phospholipids are called glycolipids. The carbohydrate molecules are attached to the protein molecules of the cell membrane is called glycoproteins. So what is the function of the carbohydrates in the cell membrane? In the glycolipids and glycoproteins, okay. So what is the function of the carbohydrate? The carbohydrate is only 5%, but the carbohydrate is a negatively charged particle. That's why it does not allow the negatively charged substances easily passes from outside to inside or inside to outside. And also the functions of the protein. What is the functions of the protein? The functions of the protein in integral proteins are helpful for the transport of water soluble substances, hormones, antigens, and anything from water, especially water soluble substances. By this, integral proteins are helpful for ICF to and ECF and ECF to ICF. And peripheral proteins are helpful for the structural stability, and integral proteins also helpful for the structural stability and provides strength to the cell membrane, and provides some shape and maintains the shape of the cell by the cell membrane. Next, we move to the cytoplasm. The contents of the cytoplasm and cytoplasm of the cell.